going for Mr. Nobody, everybody? Everybody, Mr. Nobody. All right. Man, we're just barreling through this list.
That's right.
All right. Hey, we're going to switch formats again. It's going to do, this next performance is going to do some comedy for you. All right, so put your hands together. It's Richard Hawk Slocum, everyone.
Hey. All right.
Thank you. Oh, fuck. Oh, cool. Just so everyone's aware, there's an upstairs right now. And it's warm, it's nice, and there's mirrors. Dude, I used to work with kids at a martial art dojo. You have no idea how much I miss mirrors. You have no idea how stoked I am that there's a mirror right next to me right now. Hey, you. But just to bring it down to earth. My name is Richard Hawk Slocum, and I just recently turned 30. Yeah. They say with snakes, alligators, I think lobsters too, they just grow bigger with age. But then at the same time as they grow bigger, they become more lethargic. They don't want to fucking move. Hence why I don't work in martial arts anymore. I much prefer to talk. It is so much easier. I call it like upper level management mode, where I just come into a room and I'm like, this needs to be cleaned up. Let that sit for a second. But yeah, so for my day job, I work as a behavior technician, which is another word for a baseline therapist that all you need is a 40-hour class to work with autistic kids from the ages of 3 and 14. Had a great conversation with a kid because they were watching Paw Patrol, and they had an animal on there that was a werepuppy. My client, who was a young child, asked me, would you want to be a werepuppy? I first said, no, I would much rather be a puppy that's my age, becoming a feral giant werewolf dude. But then you think about a 30-year-old dog. Mammals don't have it as easy as fucking reptiles. Then I also thought, like, if you had a choice of being any sort of were animal, I would want to be a were kangaroo. Because there's an interesting thing about kangaroos. Everybody thinks they box. Really, they clinch up on you and give you a hug, and then kick the shit out of you while balancing on their tail. So going from animals into like my personal spirit animal that will come up at the end of the act. My spirit animal, anybody name it? What do you think it is?
Weasel.
Sloth. Well, that, based on here. Weasel. Weasel. Brown-haired, slinky weasel. Well, a little bit more overweight now. A well-insulated weasel. Actually, fuck it, I'm going to go into it now. The Hadron Collider. Anybody know what that is? You do? Please explain to me. Like, I know it's like the most expensive fucking thing. It's $4.7 billion to shoot the smallest in the world thing at each other, and then like scientists study it. So, fun fact, we're going to take us back right now to 2016. Everybody thought it was a normal day. We're going to blast this thing off just like a big ass snake. If you're worth $4.75 million, it takes a lot to get you to fire off. Not sexually, but as an inanimate object. But an interesting thing happened that day. Weird shit happened. They recorded the data. There was a lot of weird anomalies. They looked into like the cage. Turns out they found the remains of a weasel that found its way to Geneva, Switzerland. I'm not sure if they're endemic or not. Let's just say they are or not. Wherever's interesting. But a weasel found his way in there.
He's a part of science. Like, can you imagine? And like, anybody work in research or science? You got to change the letter headings on everything at that point. Everything. It's not talking about like physics anymore. You're talking about what happens to a random woodland creature when you fire a $4.75 billion machine at it. What if they had a $4.75 billion catapult? Not as funny. So moving on. With my job, I'm afforded a lot of opportunities to kind of improv and just like shoot ideas off of small autistic children who are way smarter than I am. Belligerently so. Like super. And better fighters too. They know how to hit you. They're really good. Like I have one kid, genius kid. If you back him into a corner, he goes for your hands. He grabs your hands and then headbutts you. I taught martial arts for 20 years. Deleted. Totally deleted by this kid's random improv that royally fucked me up. But it's like, it's a fascinating concept there though, because like with a kid, when they're dealing with a guy like me, who I would honestly say I'm generally bigger than the kids I work with. Or I feel like we mostly hope. It's an interesting thing. As they go up in age, it becomes less socially like acceptable for them to wrestle you when you walk into a room. 3-year-olds, dude, just have fun. Just get at it. 15-year-olds, you got to give them 2 minutes, but then you kind of have to be like, all right, we got to be real here. You don't want to wrestle like a Actually, that's the funny thing about martial arts. Literally, the reason why I don't do martial arts anymore, working with kids, I already know I can beat up around 23-year-olds at once. And I can also do this though too. This is a very funny thing that actually helps me out with therapy too. You create a distressful situation for the kid, but then you give them a proper script to deal with it. So if I went up to here, and I'm like, I'm doing this, what would you do? Well, you could block it. Give me a key up.
I don't know what key is.
How is it called?
My martial arts, there's so much. Ki is a Korean car. The concept of ki is Japanese. And with the exhalation of a Kia, it's almost like a consolidation of energy into a single thing. You see people lifting like deadlift and shit. They're like, oh! The Japanese go, Kia! If they did like karate of some sort. Dude! We went down this road. Who the fuck am I? Okay, yeah, no, there we go. Yeah, so like, whenever you're working with kids, you create a game where don't let me hit you. Imagine being a dad saying that to your kid. Some of us lived it. Dark joke, I'm sorry. But when you're working with kids, you create a situation where it's like, socially speaking, we're afraid of getting hit, right? When you're dealing with like autistic kids who don't have a way of communicating directly and saying like, yo dude, I want to have 3 bases in tag, not 1 base, and then they freak out. It goes into this thing that like, as a therapist, as a martial art instructor, you advocate more for a verbal consolidation of wills between 2 people as opposed to a physical fight. If I was teaching kids how to kill people, I wouldn't have been able to work with kids, you know what I mean? Yeah, I actually mentioned that before. A parent asked me, it's like, you're teaching my kid how to punch. What do I do if they hit me? I'm like, take a class and you walk. I'll end with that. My name is Richard Hawk Slocum. This is Venice Cafe. Beautiful place. Thank you.